actually happened to be one of my first clients in general, and she happened to be my very first big client. And she was a woman who, quite interestingly enough, was an escort. And she happened to have this client who was a regular client of hers, who was a very big sports figure, and I can't mention any names, but a very big sports figure. And maybe I can tell you that he was a tennis player, but I think that's probably as far as I can go. Anyway, they had this little affair, and he was married and children and the whole 9 yards, and they had this little, well, it wasn't even an affair because he paid her, but they had this thing, and she wound up pregnant. And she found out that she was pregnant. She approached him. Of course, he wants absolutely nothing to do with her. He wants absolutely nothing to do with the baby. They enter an agreement with her lawyers and his lawyers, and they agree that he is going to give her a one-time payment of $500,000 to go away. So I'm going to write you this check. I'm going to give it to you. Go away. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't ever want to meet the child. The child is never to know who I am. Done. And she agreed to this. They go as far as to have a contract drawn up. His attorneys draw up the contract. Her attorneys approve it. Everyone signs off on the deal. And then the guy doesn't pay the money. Now, that's the most bizarre thing that I have ever heard of in my entire life. And I think in my 11 years of business, that's probably the most bizarre case that I've heard of, because this guy didn't want anything to do with her. He had the money, they had the contract, he agreed to do it, and he just didn't pony over the cash. So now this lady falls into this situation because now she's unemployed, because she can't go and do her line of work that she had done when she met this guy and became impregnated, obviously. And so she's pregnant, she can't work. He's not paying her the money that he was obligated to pay her, and so now she falls into, you know, the depths of despair, and she can't work, and she begins to lose everything that she has because she can't pay her bills. And so what ends up happening, she finds me, and it was a match made in heaven. We began to work together, and she was, as I said, she was my first big client, so it was a learning experience, a great learning experience for me too, as I helped her through this process. And at the end of the day, it took about 1.5 years, which my timing has greatly improved since then, because she was, again, my first big one, and I was learning the ropes on these big cases and how to work them back then. But it took about 1.5 years and a whole lot more court appearances, but the guy finally did pay up this money, and so, you know, the deal is finally done, and they each have gone their separate ways. But that has got to be the most bizarre thing I think that's ever happened.